Hello everybody. This is MenothJohn, and I am here today with David Carl and Jeff Easterwood. You know David from Clockwork Phoenix, and also from a small miniatures company in Bellevue, Washington, who produces a game we know as War Machine and Hordes. And now he is the grand poobah of all things Clockwork Phoenix. How you doing today, DC?
I'm doing quite well, John. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we have Jeff Easterwood. He is one of the guys from Your Turn Go, one of my favorite, and one of my boy Charles's favorite podcasts. And welcome to the show, Jeff.
I'm good. Nice to be here.
This is not a painting with MenothJohn production by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just kind of pushing the buttons, and as you all know, that usually means we're going to have a half a dozen or so terrible technical glitches over the course of this. But what we wanted to do, and this was really DC reaching out to Jeff and I on this one, is we wanted to talk about the joy of playing. And one of the things, DC, that you approached me with was that where we have, and I apologize for any audio, I've got vacuuming going on in the damn background. It should not be with us throughout the whole podcast. One of the things that maybe we're struggling with as a community these days is fun. Is that we've worked so hard to develop a game that's not listen to me talking like I developed the game. We've worked very hard as a community to develop this competitive meta that we have, but maybe we've lost something in the process, Dave.
Well, the reason that this all became something that I wanted to do was you often talk about Bob Ross and about how he's your spirit animal. And when they had that Bob Ross Twitch stream or live stream of all of the Bob Ross episodes that ever played, I put it on in the background while I was working on other things. So while I was writing or checking some emails, to have that nice background noise of Bob Ross being casual and fun and welcoming. And it really stuck with me that the focus of everything he was doing was wanting people to have fun, wanting people to experience the joy of painting.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times we get these various War Machine podcasts and they focus on all the things that are wrong or
Right.
all the things that should change or all the things somebody doesn't like. And there aren't really a whole lot of War Machine shows that are focused on what is fun, on that joy of playing, on how to make the most of your War Machine experience and of your gaming experience in general and just have a great time. So I wanted to use this mini series to kind of channel Bob Ross and see if we can look into getting the joy of playing to be a more central part of our gaming lives.
Absolutely. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
I like fun a lot. So when I play, I don't really play to win. I play winions. So we have a lot of you see a lot of loss when you play them, which is fine. Like, because I love the aesthetic of them. I love running around and being like, I'm gonna play this weird, stupid list, and you get into it, and a lot of it is about making sure that you have fun and making sure your opponent has fun.
Yep.
And that's a lot of it is just like I'll play a lot of new people. I'll play a lot of people that are kind of they're not as good on the rules because they haven't been playing very long, but just kind of walking them through the rules, walking them through how to do things. It's really a lot of fun, and it's really neat to play things that people usually don't play. Like I was playing like Jaga and a whole bunch of beasts the other day, and you're just running around and people are, they're like, oh, someone will run an anti-beast list and they'll just mop the floor with you, but they had a lot of fun doing it, and you would have fun trying to kind of beat the odds like Rocky and Rocky 3.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lists I've ran recently is Midas and 60 bone grinders. It's like Midas. It's Midas tier, and it's just so many grinders.
Do you seriously own that many bone grinders?
Yeah, I own 60 bone grinders.
Jesus Christ!
And you just run them. You run them up the field, and people just blast. Like, it's fun for your opponent because they just blast through your entire army, and you're still moving this horde of bone grinders, and they have fun because they're like, they're like frantically trying to kill as many things as possible,
Right.
and they just keep coming. They just keep coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like a big zombie apocalypse scenario, which is
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this on my show for several times. We've talked about this concept that we call hardcore casual,
Yeah.
which means to our show what it means is that you're playing casually, but you're really playing casually. You're focusing on the fun. And to that extent, we've had contests where we worked on hardcore casual lists, and we've had people send in their most fun lists, not necessarily the most competitive. They might be competitive, but at the end of the day, they're going to provide a play experience for yourself and for your opponent that is going to end up with both people leaving the table going, "God, that was fun."
Yeah.
And
I think that's something we're going to keep coming back to is the opponent's opinions and feelings at the end of the game. Because there's two people involved here.
yes,
You've got, did I have fun, which is very important, but it's also very important, did the other guy have fun? And this zombie apocalypse pig army sounds like one way to have a great time.
absolutely. And one of the things that I think, like we talked about, this is going to be a series of podcasts, a small mini series. We're talking about doing like 3 of these. And in this one, we're going to get to lists a little bit later and some of those kinds of things. But one of the things I think we need to provide the listeners for is kind of where did we end up with this? I think that we've seen, at least from my own observations, and you guys can tell me if you think I'm right or not. I started playing the game back in 2008. So it was right at the very end of Mark 1 heading into Mark 2. And it was a competitive game, but I don't know that it was at the same level of competition that we see right now. It seems to me like the game has become more winning focused than it ever has been in the past. Observations?
Well, I think that it's very individual.
Okay.
I started in 2003, like right in the early stages, and I immediately got involved in the competitive scene in the St. Louis area,
Sure.
where Jeff is now.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big competitive communities, and we had lots of tournaments. We would drive all over to other towns in nearby cities or even nearby states and compete, and it became a very hardcore sort of experience because this was the first time for a lot of us that we found a miniatures games where the rules allowed that,
Mm-hmm.
where the rules allowed you to fight hard and figure out your opponent's strategies and kind of dominate the meta. And for a while, for me at least, I personally took that a bit too far. I started getting more upset than I should have when I would lose an important game or a game that felt important. And I needed to take some steps back.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to start realizing, hey, I started this to have fun. I started playing this game, collecting these armies to have a good time. And when I lost sight of that, I had to kind of start making some changes. So one of the things that I did was I started playing a broader variety of warcasters. If I won a tournament with a warcaster or warlock, I wouldn't play that one in the next or in tournaments anymore. I'd play a new one and try and win with that one. I would try and shake up which warjacks and warbeasts I played. And so trying new things became a big thing for me. I also started developing some wacky scenarios or even wacky things that people could try out and play, or formats where winning wasn't really the whole picture, the whole story. So there's a lot you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really about ourselves as individuals rather than the bigger picture. Because even now, yes, there's a bigger competitive community, but there's also a bigger casual community. There's just plain a bigger community.
True.
So it's easy to see that big competitive community, but I think a lot of times the people having the most fun with it are some of those guys at the game store playing the wacky stuff and just having a good time and making sure their opponent does too.
Sure. Jeff, what's your perspective? Now, you've been in St. Louis, and whereas David has moved out to the West Coast,
Right.
you've been in that community now for many years. When did you start playing War Machine Hordes?
I started playing during the Ogenholt League, so I want to say that was 2011.
Okay, 2011, so a little bit newer.
Yeah.
And what have you seen any changes in the meta that you've recognized?
So we have grown huge here in St. Louis. We have whenever we have tournaments, I think we normally have 16 to 20 people. We just had McCannon Con, which was a con that was held at my friend Brandon's house. We just packed his house, and I think we had a 12-person tournament or something like that.
Sure.
Just at a person's house in a weekend. The St. Louis War Machine community is kind of split into kind of a striation of people. There's the people that come to every tournament, and there's maybe 20 hardcore players that are super competitive or reasonably competitive that'll keep showing up to tournaments, and that pulls from St. Louis, pulls a little bit from across the river in Belleville, up to Heroic Adventures in up north there. We have some Columbia people that come over, like Pat and some of his guys come up.
Sure.
And then we have some guys down from Kennett, like where the Sutherlands are.
Okay.
Like Kennett and Cape Girardeau area. So all of these metas are pretty healthy, and they all kind of come to the melting pool that is St. Louis. And that's kind of our competitive group. And then you also have a larger casual group that is like new players and players that just don't play a lot of tournament games, but they'll come up on Wednesdays and Fridays, and we often have trouble finding table space because there's just so many players that play, and it's a really good community, and it's really nice to be able to just post on the Facebook and say, hey, I want to play a game against X faction, and then someone will pop in and say, oh, I have that faction, let's go play that. And it's really cool to have that many players and be able to kind of set the tone for just any kind of game you want to play across, from like super high tournament meta. Like we have Kurt Hinman, who went to the World Team Championships, all the way down to like people like me, who's just like, I'm going to go throw something down, play some games that are just random. And a big deal is for me is in order to kind of help that competitive nature with some people, like I'll cheer on my opponent's army. So you go into the game and you say, you know what, you're playing this caster and I'm playing this person, and this is kind of the little storyline. I'm gonna put up like a 5-second story of what's happening here.
Sure.
Like I'm playing Lord Carver, you're playing like Lilith, right? Or something, and Lilith is coming to the Thornfall and I'm defending it. But if I lose, it's fine. I'm gonna fall back to my fortress. I didn't lose anything. But I mean, if they win, like they get, because like Lord Carver always has a backup fortress he goes to every time he loses. Like he's never dead. He just runs away. Like somewhat of Lord Carver's caliber.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Yeah, he's very snidely Whiplash. So
I think I think you strike on a very interesting point, though, Jeff. One of the things that I think we wanted to accomplish with this podcast was to kind of talk a little bit about what are some different ways that you can bring more casual fun into the game. And one of the things that we mentioned during the pre-ramble was that this game maybe War Machine Hordes has less than, let's say, 40K is narrative aspects to it. And I know, Jeff, you're a big time role player, and bringing that sort of role playing and narrative aspect to this game is something I don't see a lot of.
I think there's a lot of ways to approach the fun, the joy of playing as we see it. And the narrative approach that Jeff brings is maybe not the most common, but certainly when I see him play, he's having fun. His opponents are having fun. And I think that that's something other people do a little bit as well. Some folks who like name all their different models or have like stories behind their squads, and this one guy, he survived 3 games in a row, he's the best trencher or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are people who take that very narrative approach. And I think both you and I, John, are more in the like shaking up of gameplay, shaking up the lists, shaking up the formats. hardcore casual craziness, to just have some fun as a break from the more straight competitive meeting up of two armies. But then there's other ways people do it. Chris from St. Louis, he and I used to meet at the finals tables of tournaments all the time, and we both at times got a bit intense.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taken the direction of getting more deeper and deeper into the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Like his painting competitions to him are now just as important,
man.
if not more so, than
Vader?
the tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vader.
Oh, that guy, his stuff is beautiful. I can't even.
Yeah, he's and you couldn't ask for a nicer guy to give you tips and things like that. We've had him on the show, and he did a color theory program for us, and
I gotta watch that.
One of the best. The audio was brutal. He might be a great dentist and a fantastic player and an amazing painter. Dude needs help from an audio standpoint. But anyway, but it was some really good information, and we talk about some of the different things you can do. I mean, we talked about some alternate formats. Dave, what's your favorite alternate format? Let's take Steamroller and throw it out. What is your favorite alternate format you've ever played?
Well, and some of this comes from, we're all going to bring our own experiences to the table, but I really like the kind of mini campaigns.
Okay.
I've written 3, maybe 4 of them in No Quarter over the years. And I like the way that you can kind of play a game that has competitive elements, but also that has very story-driven elements and often some wacky scenario conditions. From one where you're trying to save civilians, which there's plenty of those in the Iron Kingdoms. We don't always pay attention to them. We're usually too busy killing things.
Not for nothing, but fuck being an average citizen in the Iron Kingdoms. I'm just going to put that out there. That is a bad deal. That is a bad damn deal.
But
you don't get one career.
Where win or lose, it then has an impact on what comes next.
Yes.
And then you're able to play that next game and try to kind of either continue your momentum or kind of turn things around and have this campaign story that moves with you and changes. And I think that's a good way to draw in a variety of our different types of fun we're talking about, because
Sure.
It is narrative. It is a very alternate format, of course. And then also there are hobby opportunities. Like I've seen some people, Mark Thomas in St. Louis has made models or specific items for different storyline campaigns and things we were doing, things he might never use again. And he spent time putting them together, painting them up, converting them.
Sure. So, I mean, Jeff, what about you? What's one of your favorite alternatives? I mean, the mini scenario and storyline things, really, really powerful stuff. Jeff,
Right.
what are the kind of things you like when you sit down and you can play something different?
My favorite format ever is Thunderdome.
Thunderdome's pretty great.
It's 3 casters. You just take 3 casters. Furious counted as focus, and you get 4 people on a table and a big mosh pit.
Yep.
And you just run around trying to murderize everybody, and it's so fun because it's a stupid format.
It's like, how many different warcasters can you kill in the very same turn?
Yeah, and it's ridiculous, and I like it because I play minions, and minions is so ridiculous. Because I have Lord Carver, and I'm putting like Fury on him. I'm putting Boundless Charge. He's running across with his feet. I don't know how far he's going, like 15 inches, and then just murderizing everything. And I'm like, I'm living the dream. And then I get like wiped by EK or something. But it's so fun because it's just it's everything awesome about War Machine and Hordes just cranked up to 100.
Yeah.
Because you just add more people. Like, hey, let's put 6 people on this table and see what happens. So, and it's cool. It's fun.
Absolutely. One of the things where I first got introduced to scenarios that weren't Steamroller was the first time I went to TempleCon. And I experienced the scenario tables that the New England Privateers had put together out there. And they have done such a good job of coming up with unique scenarios that they range everywhere from unbalanced point levels, where one person gets 35 points, the other person gets 50 points, to my personal favorite, which is this, I think it was Orgoth or if it was Cirrus, one of the two. it was like this temple with this cascading step levels, and you had stairways that went up to the top, and there's this lodestone in the middle that if you was in your control area, you could roll. You could have an opposing roll against your opponent, and if you won the roll, you get that many more focus the next turn. And so you could have, let's say you're doing this with Harbinger, and you roll a 6. You'd be a 16 focus caster the next turn. And but if the opposing roll tied, both warcasters get slammed by as if they were getting hit by a heavy jack, a large jack. And there were walls everywhere on this table. So you were taking super slam damage. And
awesome.
Everyone I know that ever played that table has a story about how either their caster or their opponent's caster got super slammed into a wall and one-shotted out of the game, or a beast blew up on a transfer or something like that.
That's pretty funny.
So, I mean, those are things to consider, folks, when you're looking at trying to come up with new and interesting things to bring some spice to your gaming. Is think about ways to do unbalanced scenarios. Think about these kind of crazy things that they're out there, and there are resources to get at scenarios like this.
Another format, or even like a type of format that I think winds up with a lot of great stories, a lot of great fun memories, is Who's the Boss?
Yes.
And then the newer Frankencaster. Who's the Boss, for those who haven't played it, you build your army, but the Warcaster or Warlock you get is completely random. For the ones they run at major shows, it can be any Warcaster or Warlock in the entire game. And then Frankencaster is a format where every aspect of your Warcaster or Warlock is drawn randomly. So you have a random stat line from any Warcaster or Warlock in the game, random weapon profiles and abilities, random spells, and a random feat. So you draw one card from each of 4 or maybe 5 different decks. And so you could wind up with Rashef's stat line and Borgul's weapons and Siege's spell list and Harbinger's feat. You get this crazy combination of things. And so that's a fun format too. And when we talk about these, they're kind of like big showcase sort of events where you got the huge Who's the Boss wheel where you spin the caster. Can be a lot of fun. But you can also run this kind of stuff in smaller ways. Just you and your opponent can be like, all right, what Warcasters and Warlocks do you have with you today? Let's set them out and just kind of put numbers on dice and say, okay, let's roll it up. Grab a D20 or something and see what sort of caster you wind up with and try and make that work for whatever your army is. Or do a smaller version of Frankencaster where you separate your weapon card from your spell feat card, shuffle them all up and see what you wind up with. These aren't things that are only limited to big conventions. You can do stuff like that just in your game store.
Absolutely. Jeff? I thought you looked like you had something you had to say there.
I think I forgot it.
That's okay.
But my alternate formats, we used to have something called America Hill here, and I don't think we've had Mark II rules for it yet. But it's basically there's a hill, it's like a king of the hill, and you have a couple of Wold Wardens that you can control once you get on the hill. And what I was thinking about doing is, I'm a huge wrestling fan.
Not you.
So what I wanted to do is I wanted to get one of the little like WWE rumblers, like the little like the WWE ring. And you stick a whole bunch of War Beast in there, and they get like 1 Fury or 1 Focus or whatever. And then you just run them around, and you try to Royal Rumble each other over the edge. Like, you try to throw each other over the edge of the thing, and the last person standing, like, wins the match.
Nice.
And you can just shove as many people in there as you want. Like, let's put 8 people in here, and then you're just trying to throw each other over and do power attacks.
Nice.
I think that'd be a really fun format just for stupidity.
I think part of it that takes some of the pressure off of one-on-one combat is making it not a one-on-one game. Like you talk about American Hill, that was always very multiplayer focused. The Thunderdome is very multiplayer focused, lots of people at once. Royal Rumble would be as well, I'm sure, because you'd want a lot of people in that ring and start throwing each other around. And I think also team formats can be that way.
Yeah.
Pair up an experienced player with a new player and go head to head. One of my best tournament memories of just like a fun day back in St. Louis in the early days of War Machine was when we had a team tournament. It was just small games. This was Mark 1, so I think it was like 350 points or something, which these days means like 25 or 30. And we had experienced players pair up with new players.
Sure.
So I was with a guy who had played like 1 or 2 demo games, and we just worked together as a team. And so did our opponents, people figuring out not just how to have a game of a tournament of War Machine, but how to help people learn to play War Machine and become part of this community. And that's honestly one of my best tournament memories is that event.
Yeah, so I think that's something that we should probably touch on a little bit, and that is bringing new people into miniatures, making it a welcoming community as well. I think that, you know, when I started playing War Machine and Hordes back in 2008, I think that there were some people who were like that, but there were just a few people also that wanted to just show me how badass they can stomp my head every time I showed up at the table. I mean, it was literally a slaughter against these different components. And, you know, that's, guys, just out there, that's not awesome for a community. That's not how you get people to stick around. Yay, I just spent $50 on my battle box to have my head kicked in. Thanks, that was really special.
Well, and I think league play becomes a double-edged sword that way.
Agreed.
Because the leagues are a lot of fun in that they have unique elements, like unique models you can use, or like a way to have your guys level up through gameplay or special conditions. They have also more of a narrative component. Lately, they also have some hobby goals.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got lots of these things we're talking about that can make the game more fun, but they also still have, there's still going to be folks who show up to the game store and they just want to win games at any cost to hopefully for them win the league. So they find new players and stomp them into the dirt, and they're still forgetting that aspect we mentioned at the very beginning. Are you actually having fun for both people at the table or not?
Right. I mean, when you face off against somebody that maybe doesn't have the same level of experience you do, maybe that's an opportunity to try something new with a list. You know, this is maybe not your opportunity to practice that steamroller list that you've got planned for next weekend's big tournament that you're going to maybe win a pin at because somehow that's worth alienating another human being over. But you know, the fact is that maybe that this is an opportunity to try that Gunbjorn list that, you know, that you think might be, you know, more cute than good. But at least, you know, you give your opponent something interesting to see across the table, and you both have a good time. And, you know, when I'm playing against a newer player, a lot of times what I'll do is I will, you know, allow, if they have a problem where they maybe activate something out of order, you know, we'll rewind it a little bit more, and we'll take it off the clock, and we won't be using a clock because, you know, the key is to learn how to do these things. And I'm not that I'm going to tell the person how to run their turn, because that's irritating as hell, but rather to help them to see how some of the next level of strategies work in the game.
Right. I have a list full of war beasts that I like to try to kill everything by using power attacks. So I'll just randomly, I'll be like, okay, I have a swamp horror. I'm gonna walk over here and I'm gonna weapon lock you, and then I'm gonna slam you from a bull snapper over here, and just a lot of it like with new players, I'm like, you know, they're not really good at those rules, so I'm just gonna throw all these rules and then help teach them these rules through our play, because if you know, it doesn't help me any by just going in and taking my strongest caster and just stomping everyone. But if I go in and everyone's learning about all these rules that aren't used as well, or if we'll put a structure in, like I'll play Mosar, and they put Pillars of Salt everywhere, and then now they learn the structure rules. And so I like to do is now
they know the PAL 14 guns are a thing.
Yeah. So I like to put a lot of different rules interactions into some of my list for new players, just so while I'm doing things, they start learning about the game more. And so even if they lose or I lose, they've learned so much out of just having that game. And they've learned about Fury, they've learned about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think that goes back to our original kind of Bob Ross inspiration here, where it is always about learning, as well as having fun. And when you talk about these different things that you can put into an army, you can also shake things up, as is mentioned in the chat here by Mift Gorax, talks about how you can give yourself additional objectives. So that part of the game is, well, you have to perform 3 throws or power attacks of some kind, or things like that. Another one that comes to mind for me is cavalry. The cavalry rules are something that not everybody fully understands. So to have a goal in the game for, okay, well, you have to try to perform 3 power attacks before you can attack a warcaster or something, or not power attacks, impact attacks.
Yep.
You can also do it with like some minor house rules. If you want to both focus on learning more about power attacks and stuff, you could just say, for this game, all power attacks have an additional die of damage.
That's pretty good.
All power attack damage rolls.
Sure.
So tramples become bloody lethal.
Oh, Jesus.
If you hit. Slams, throws, like it actually encourages you to do those kind of things. You could do the same with impact attacks when you're trying to learn heavy cav. Or battle engines have minus a die of damage from small based models or something. Like there's all different types of things you can shake things up.
Meat Thresher.
Yeah. To kind of start focusing on some parts of the game you might not fully understand yet.
I think what we're talking about here, folks, is there's a social contract when you show up at the table. And the social contract you have is you need to communicate with your opponent. What kind of game is this person looking for? If this is something that you're both Jeff for Mountain Dew, if you're both to say that you're practicing for a tournament, then the expectation is set that you're both going to come with your A game lists, and you're probably going to do a double blind type of a selection where just how you would in a tournament and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, go into it and communicate, folks. Communicate with your prospective partner that you're going to say, listen, I'm interested in playing a more casual game. I'm going to bring some wacky stuff. If you could not show up with EE from 3 weeks ago, that would be super special.
So a big part of that is that if you think about, I'm going to play a game with somebody for 2 hours, 3 hours, depending. So I'm going to play this game. We're going to sit at this table together, right? Treat it like a date with a lady or a man. Whatever, if you're a lady or a man or
whatever works for you. We're not judging.
So you're going on this date. You, at least on a date, you plan beforehand. You're like, we're going to go on this date. We're going to go to this place. And so when you come to the table, it's like a date with the person you're playing.
Very true.
So you should at least have that minimal amount of planning and the amount of respect and amount of just not being rude. Like, I got to be rude. We're going to go where I want to go. No, just together. You form a pact with each other, that social contract. You say, I'm going to play this. We're going to play this. Like, we're going to go to Starbucks and we're going to get hot chocolate, right? It's just like a date where you come together and you say, me and you are going to have this date and we're all going to have fun. And at the end of the day, we'll be better friends for it.
There you go. Absolutely.
I do want to reinforce something John said a minute ago. We're not telling people don't play competitively. That's not what we're trying to say here at all.
No.
Because some of the games that I've had a ton of fun with have been very competitive games. Back long ago now, I used to play against Matty K, very competitive games, or Jason Watt, tournament games. And I have never had a bad game with either of those guys. I've always had fun. And we've always been trying hard to beat the other person's face in, but that was what the contract was in those particular games. It was at a tournament, and we were playing the list we worked hard on, trying everything we could within the rules to defeat our opponent. And I do think that within the rules part is key. Don't don't be one of those gotcha players. Don't
No.
stretch your tape measure. Don't move your models when no one's looking. All that kind of stuff. Is that really going to help you have more fun when you look back on the game to
Nope.
cheat?
So
Just play fair, play hard, and enjoy it.
that's one of the things. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I have trouble knocking my models over all the time, and it's I'm not trying to cheat. I have fumbly hands. I'm just like, nope, there goes my black-eyed wrestler, and it's just like. So
one of the things that I think it's important to stress is that if you look at, there are things to copy from the highly competitive. There are things to emulate from the highly competitive portion of the meta of this particular game, and it's not necessarily their lists. While they are excellent lists, that is not what you want to emulate from that group. I will tell you that for the most part, I would say probably in the 80 to 90% range, those folks play the game correctly from the standpoint that they are gentlemen and ladies to each other. They are about free flow of information. When someone asks a threat range, they give them the threat range with whatever options they can possibly think of that their Warcaster or their confluence of models that they have on the table. They want to win on the strategy and the cleverness of their list building. They don't want to win because their tape measure has a faulty end on it or their card has extra boxes that it's not supposed to have. You know, it's not like that. That is who you want to emulate from those top players.
Yeah, the clean gameplay, movement, measurement, always clean.
Yep. And we live in an era where clean measurement is so easy. I mean, with the widgets that exist today, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 1 inch, half inch, it's all out there, and it's never been easier, especially if you use a Painting with MenothJohn widget available at Muson Minis. And
I gotta check that out. The one thing that I take from competitive players is they play painted armies. Mm-hmm. So I had to start playing Bradigus competitively because wolves are way easier to paint than anything in Minions.
Fact.
So I'm painting wolves like crazy, and I'm like, look, now I have one painted army. I think I've been playing 4 or 5 years. I have one painted army that I can take to places. It's not even fully painted, but I can have a painted army. It looks good on the table. And then eventually, once I get my 60 bone grinders painted, then I'll have that painted army I can take on the table.
I will tell you, Jeff, I painted a 50-point Gator army with a guy from Chicago in an afternoon.
Oh,
wow!
Airbrushing and washing, man. It's all you got to do.
I just learned how to wash. Washes are amazing.
Yep.
I'm just gonna take as many shamblers as I can,
mm-hmm.
and just throw off flesh and wash.
Boom.
And just do that with all my I just put a dark green on all my bog trogs. I'm just gonna play Rask bog trogs single list everywhere, and just look. I have 700 bog trogs. Have fun.
God, that's
I'm
terrifying.
sensing a theme in your zombie armies here, Jeff.
Yeah, everything is just tons of dudes. Or I think I could just play Jaga and a bunch of beasts. Like, I think the 2 lists I want to have, the best ADR list on the planet is Arcadius Nature of the Beast and Bone Grinder spam with Midas. Because everything is like, here's 13 beasts, and here is 60 Bone Grinders. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
If they have answers for it, I am super screwed. But they're super fun lists to play. Because either way, they're like, oh, I picked the anti-beast list, and well, now you have to kill 700 infantry.
Welcome to List Chicken Hell.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Awesome.
And the tournament was really funny. Is the first time I took the 60 Bone Grinder list out, I didn't know how good it was because I'm in a time tournament. I'm just throwing them as fast as I can, 10 inches, like run 10 inches, run 10 inches, and I ended up second turn 4 inches past the flags. And I'm playing against Tsunami, and he's got E Lilith, so he's got a bunch of beasts. I had crowded him out of the zone, like crowded out of the flags far enough. He had to melee with all of his Ravagors to just get close enough to the flags. Because he was like, oh man, I'm going to lose on scenario just based on these tons of Bone Grinders.
Yup.
And I was like, man, that's pretty funny. Because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, and it's surprising certain things that people don't really think about until one person tries them. Some of the lists even that are considered very strong, scary lists, or that were and possibly even had to get errated at some point, were things that just kind of sat dormant for 2, 3 years, where no one really noticed a particular interaction or that a particular play style would work as well as it does.
How long did
So
how long
things
did
are always changing. It's good to be creative and
Yep.
learn new things.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I've been pretty proud of on my show, where we've had Drunk Dojo, where we brought Bubba Dalton, a very accomplished Canadian player, on there, and Rich Brautman, who is a very accomplished drinker of beer, and we get on there and we pick a couple of lesser known or something new and just dojo around it. And guys, that can be really fun. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a cat on the show now. That's awesome.
Yeah, Django. He was crying at the door.
There you go. And where you can, we intentionally pick things that are a little bit goofy to talk about. Where we like when Croak Raiders came out, nobody had really talked about Croak Raiders yet. So we dojoed around them and saw what we could do with, taking a fire theme to its logical conclusion with Fire Mountain and Legion, and we did another. I think we did one was, oh my god, the Scorn one's so badly broken. Holy crap! The fact that list isn't out there every day blows my mind.
What Scorn list?
Turns out Croak Raiders and all the Incendiarii kind of a mess to deal with. Turns them effers up to 1,000,000.
I don't own that. I need to own some more Incendia. Like, I own Scorn and a bunch of beasts. Because me and Stu split. Tolsey sold his Scorn, and I have like all the beasts and the dudes, and I think he had the Immortals and all the Actuary guys. So I gotta get the fire shooty dudes. That sounds amazing.
The Incendiary guys, and then the frogs, and then you get the Witch Dot Croc with them to tough them.
Yeah.
So they don't just disappear.
So that you get vitriol goes off, because that's fun too.
It's a mess. It's such an amazing list. But that's how you find fun lists. Is you sit, and that's one of the things, guys, that is another thing you can do. Sit down with your friends and just, hey, let's take this and dojo that. And I think that's a great way for us to go. The other thing I wanted to mention is something I do, and it may be something that not everybody gets an opportunity to do because I travel so much for my job, is I would encourage you to look for new places to play. Now, I get around on my job quite frequently. Like next week, I'm going to be in Seattle, and I've never played at Mox's, so I'm meeting one of the brush heads at Mox's, and we're gonna play a game, and I'm gonna make a new friend. I actually have met this gentleman once before. He was at the War Machine Weekend broadcast when we did the live viewing of Turkish Star Wars. But this was, which is amazing if you guys haven't seen it. Turkish Star Wars is effing amazing.
It's pretty
funny. But do that. Look if you're traveling, and either for business or something else, try to connect with that local meta. And I mean, I've gotten to the point now where basically anywhere I go on business, I've got a game to play. And
that's sweet.
Honestly, I get more games when I'm on the road now than I do when I'm at home.
I think one other aspect of it, talking about the joy of playing, is it's always possible to get a little bit burnt out.
Yes.
And I personally find it very important to take some breaks. And this applies to War Machine. It applies to all kinds of things, really. But to be able to know when, okay, I've been pushing really hard, going to tons of tournaments every weekend, and I need to do something that's just more casual. For some people, that might be just a more casual format, or playing with newer players and helping people learn the joy of the game for themselves. But it can also be playing something else.
Yep.
I know that John, you and I have a few games that we play on the side as alternate ways to play miniatures games. Jeff, I know that you use your miniatures in all kinds of role-playing games. Yep. So there's lots of options out there to keep the joy fresh by taking a break now and then and having fun with something else.
Absolutely critical. I mean, right now I'm just enjoying the living daylights out of Guild Ball. I think it's fun. It's low model count.
Butchers forever. Butchers forever.
Butchers are stupid. Holy crap!
I don't want to actually play a kicking game. I want to play a beat up game. I want to play wrestling.
Yeah, that's that they'll do that for you. But the,
Well-
the miniatures are so much fun to paint, and they're so quick to paint. Oh, they're great.
And in painting, the same thing happens. You paint the same army for too long,
Yes.
you can get tired of it. It doesn't feel like fun anymore. You lose
Yeah.
the joy of painting.
I see
so you
purple.
Never
step
played
aside,
Discord.
Yeah.
maybe you paint a few models for somebody else for their army that looks really different than yours.
Yep.
Maybe you paint a few models for a different game.
Yep.
I am painting my Guild Ball engineers right now. Well, not right now, but they're about almost halfway done, and I've enjoyed stepping away from that.
Yeah.
When new models come out, if there's something that catches your eye, it's good to use that opportunity to do something different and have fun with it.
Absolutely.
Maybe you paint some Scorn and then you automatically hate painting Scorn. So you want to get rid of them.
Some armies in War Machine do have a lot of detail.
I'm done with it.
Jeff, you know
but painting wolves is easy. So I just paint all the wolves, and I just play Baldur 1 and Baldur 2.
and what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Not a
It's-
damn
I'm painting
thing.
with. They're like, why do you play these? Why do you always play wolves? They're easy to paint.
Yes, they are, and that's
I'm
awesome.
a horrible painter. This is why I paint it. So none of the warp wolves. They have 3 layers. Not doing that.
So, guys, I think we wanted to talk about this being like a 30 to 40 minute show, and then we're at about that timetable. Folks, this is going to be a 3-parter that we're going to do, at least initially. The next time that we get together, we want to talk about
Hey, it's Archie Dan.
we want to welcome you, and that's what we want to talk about: the importance of new players to a hobby miniatures game, and to ensure new players feel welcomed and engaged. So we're gonna kind of tee that up as a topic for next time. I want to thank Jeff and Dave, David, for having this idea and inviting Jeff and I to kind of come along with it.
Yes.
And hey, Dave, if you're busy next Tuesday, I'm gonna be in Bellevue. So
Yeah, let's get together at some point to play a game or have a drink or something.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
You're gonna lose against his Cyrus. He's amazing at Cyrus.
I would pray to the sweet Lord Baby Jesus that I lose to him.
I know. And he's gonna play it too. He's gonna play Cyrus. He's gonna play the invention of himself.
Exactly.
That's so good.
All right,
So
folks. With that note, we're going to call it good for today, and we'll be releasing this on the Clockwork Phoenix, on the Your Turn Go, and the Painting with MenothJohn streams. So,
Yeah.
Dave?
And if you guys have particular things that you want us to discuss within the Joy of Playing sort of mini series, feel free to put them up on Facebook or the comments of something we post, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about some of what you want to hear about in this topic as well.
Yes.
Well, thanks, everybody. And like I said, we'll be back in probably, I don't know, a month. And I think we're talking about doing this monthly, weren't we, DC?
Yeah,
I don't
something
know.
like that. Yeah.
Okay. We'll be back when we're back. And we will post all over the place on the Your Turn Go Facebook page. Get over there and subscribe. Subscribe to Clockwork Phoenix. Subscribe to Painting with MenothJohn on the Facebook. We're also going to put the video for this over on the YouTube channel for Painting with MenothJohn. If you don't subscribe to that, you should. It's shenanigans and nonsense like that. So on behalf of my wonderful co-hosts here, have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.